Hello and welcome to this video about planned meals at regular intervals. This is the first video in the long haul series for a good reason. Having planned meals at regular intervals provides a framework that will give you the best chance of eating well. Eating well helps your mind and body in the here and now, and so can fuel you as you take steps on your journey. As you watch and listen to this video, I hope that you'll learn more about planned meals at regular intervals. I hope you will see how they can benefit you in the here and now, and I hope you will feel encouraged and empowered to make changes if you need to. I will touch on elements of a long haul journey, health journey, that can get in the way and offer some ideas that may help. So, what are we talking about? I suggest that a planned meal is one that you have thought about ahead of the time you're going to eat it. It means that you will have the food you need ready in the kitchen for the meal. In addition, I also suggest that planned meals require meal planning. So very simply, meal planning is a strategy to sketch out what you are going to eat at each meal over a given time, which is often a week, so that you have the ingredients and foods you need to make your planned meals. To start the conversation about regular intervals, I suggest that regular intervals are a gap of between 4 to 6 hours between the traditional meals of breakfast, lunch, and an evening meal. As you'll see here, a 5-hour gap between these three meals would look like this. So the example is an 8 o'clock breakfast, a 1 o'clock lunch or light meal, and then a 6 o'clock evening meal, main meal in this example. However, if your last meal of the day is a bit later, which it is for many people, for example 7:30, you may need to bridge the gap with a nutritious snack because the gap between lunch and your evening meal is too long, or perhaps just too long for you. So if you know ahead that this is going to happen and you can plan ahead for your body's need for this snack, say for example at between 4 and 5, then you have a better chance of making it nutritious and good for you, rather than trying to ignore your need for a little food, trying to hang on, and then snacking on less helpful foods just before your evening meal. This next example of eating at regular intervals is shown here. This is the example of 2 meals a day. You might relate to this if you're having a rough time and not sleeping well and waking up later in the morning. Or perhaps if you're trying something called intermittent fasting, where you purposefully have a long gap between your evening meal and then the first meal of the next day. So for either example, a good meal pattern for you could look like this. 12 noon, a sort of brunch kind of thing, light meal. Then you would need a nutritious snack between 3 and 4 if your evening meal is, as the example here, at around 7. Just as a point to note, there does seem to be many good reasons why this last meal of the day should be around 3 hours before you go to sleep. So why bother with planned meals? I suggest that eating well doesn't just happen. Getting the right food to your plate is always a logistical challenge. Before you had issues with fatigue and pain, if you knew you were an item short for the evening meal, or if you changed your mind about what to eat, you probably would have popped to the shops to get an extra ingredient or foods. But now, if energy is limited, being spontaneous and popping anywhere is probably not as easy as it once was. So I suggest that there is now more of a need to plan so you have the foods available to help you eat well. Planned meals can also help reduce the time and energy you spend each day thinking about what shall I eat, and the time and energy you spend each day if you have to react to others asking, what are we eating tonight? Because you will know what you're eating at each meal that day. Having said that, meal planning does not have to be as fixed as I've described. You can absolutely plan ahead with some flexibility. So you can have foods available if you're having a tricky day and don't have the energy for the planned meal. You could swap in these foods for an easier but still healthy option. As a bonus, people generally notice that planning meals helps them save money. Because if you make a shopping list that is based on the planned meals, you are more likely to buy what you need rather than what the supermarket suggests you need. As another bonus, people also notice that they waste less food because buying what you need means that there is less chance of something going out of date and needing to be thrown away. So why bother with eating at regular intervals? I suggest this can actually bring a framework to a day which could have lost its framework due to losing your usual routine. For example, if you're struggling and sleeping a lot during the day, then a small meal at a planned time can give you a point to wake up for, some sort of routine. I think aiming to eat at regular intervals brings the opportunity to gain a little control in what can sometimes feel a bewildering situation, as well as, of course, allowing you a chance to eat well. It can also allow for a gap between meals. So eating at regular intervals, compared to the complete opposite of eating whenever you feel like it, can allow your digestive system time to absorb the goodness from your planned meals without bombarding it with more food. I suggest it can also help you deal more skillfully with any food cravings in between meals if you know that there is a planned meal not too far away. And I think it's probably fair to say that for many of us, if a day is dragging, if you're exhausted or if you're in pain, if life is just feeling particularly tricky, then it's so easy to go to the biscuit tin or find the chocolate for the hope of a quick pick-me-up. But it's also very easy, of course, to keep eating these foods, which sadly don't help our waistlines. But we're realising too that these types of foods can cause stress for our minds and bodies too. I'll aim to explore more about this in another video. So, can symptoms of long-haul conditions make any of what we're talking about more difficult? Yes, of course. So when I say that, I'm thinking about the symptoms that are shared by many of us: pain, fatigue, whether that's physical or mental fatigue. And I think actually there should be a category of emotional pain and fatigue, which acknowledges the toll that is inflicted by this unwanted and seemingly unmovable situation. As you listen to this, please know that I know that you are all unique. You may be experiencing one, some, or many symptoms. How each symptom affects you probably ranges from being mildly annoying through to distressing, through to completely disabling and stopping you completely. And I expect that your experience of each symptom varies from day to day. If you're listening to this and thinking, uh-oh, or words to that effect, and thinking that you need to make some changes, please know I understand that change is difficult, and it's difficult enough at the best of times. but long-term conditions make it even trickier. To change what you eat needs headspace to work out what you could do, what you need to buy, and may possibly involve discussions with others in your household, which may or may not be easy for anyone on a good day. But I suggest it's better than what can happen if you do the complete opposite, which can feel like being on an emotional, mental and physical roller coaster. Indeed, patients have described to me how they can miss breakfast, eat something to bridge the gap to lunch, excuse me, eat too much so they don't feel hungry for lunch, miss lunch, then bridge the gap again, and then find they haven't got what they or everyone fancies for their evening meal, or find they're so tired that they can't cook the meal, or just don't have the energy to supervise others cooking the meal, which then leads to a takeaway, more biscuits, or nothing at all. So, do you need to do anything? So far, I hope you've learnt more about planned meals at regular intervals, why they're really important, and how they can be very beneficial in the here and now. For some of you, hearing this will have confirmed that you're on the right track, which is great. So if this is you, keep going. For others of you, you may be thinking, where do I start? And the next section of this video is designed to help. By the end of this, I hope you feel encouraged and empowered to give things a try. One more thing, please know that I think the phrase give things a try is really important. Of course, there are going to be times when giving things a try doesn't work for you. All this has shown is that what you're trying to do didn't work on that particular day at that particular time. So if you can, do try it at another time. Don't give up. But hopefully over time, this process of giving things a try can help this whole process become a voyage of discovery rather than one of success or failure, which I think feels better, and I hope you do too. So what could you try with regards to eating at regular intervals? I think the first thing you need to work out is what regular intervals looks like for you. This can then help you be clear about whether your meal plans need to be for 3 meals a day or 2 meals a day, and help you be clear about your need for nutritious snacks. So looking at the examples, are you a 3 meals a day person? Does the traditional pattern work for you? Which is your light meal and which is your main meal? And when are they? Obviously, traditionally, I think it's fair to say the main meal is in the evening for many people, but not always. So you just need to work out what's best for you. With example 2, if you're not a breakfast eater, you can breathe a sigh of relief. I'm not going to say that you need to have breakfast, but I think you do need to think if your first meal of the day is like this example of 12 noon, or if for you it needs to be earlier. If it's earlier, then does it need to be a small nutritious snack to bridge the gap between waking up and your first meal? Looking at both options, does the idea that the last meal of the day should be roughly 3 hours before bedtime fit with you? It's designed to help your sleeping pattern and hopefully your sleep, but does it work for you? And finally, once you've worked out what works best for you, you may of course need to think about others, but hopefully spending some time thinking about yourself can then help you think about others and have good conversations about their meal patterns. I do know that for many people this isn't easy at all, as they try to juggle the different needs of young children, older children, family members with different work shift patterns, and sometimes elderly relatives too. So what could you try with regards to planned meals, meal planning and meal plans? On a regular basis, I would suggest that this is a weekly basis. You or someone in your household needs to create the space and the time where you stop, pause, and create a weekly plan of the foods and drinks that those of you in your household want to eat at your meals. If others are involved, you need to involve them with this planning meeting and discuss ideas together. This may be something you already do, something you used to do, or this may be something quite new. The point of doing it is so that the meals contain the foods you need to eat well. The foods work well together. Now, we're all different in what this might mean. So, for example, I think I'm a colours person. So for me, it's really important that I have foods of different colours on my plate, whether that's some lettuce in a sandwich with some tomatoes on the side, or vegetables of different colours at my evening meal. Meals also need to flow on through the week. So, for example, if you buy fresh vegetables and you can't eat them all in one meal, you need to make sure, if possible, that the vegetables will go with the meal the next day. Obviously, this is important for reducing cost and waste. And then you also need to try and reach a compromise for any shared meals. If you're the main cook and no one else can do it, I don't think you should be cooking several meals in one evening for each of the members of your family. However, I do understand that some of you may have to cook several meals at a shared meal time. For example, if there are medical reasons why you have to, or some of you may love cooking and want to spend your energy on this. But if you would like to explore how you can spend less energy on this daily event, then I hope thinking about compromise is something you can try. As you create your weekly plan, work out what food you need for the meals. So take a look in your fridge, freezer or cupboards. Do you have the foods, drinks or ingredients that you need for the meals? Are they in date? Have you got enough? If you need to buy a food, then add it to your shopping list. So just to confirm, a shopping list should help you know what food to buy when you shop. I'm sure most of you will know this, but just in case you've never had to use a shopping list before, and based on times when things have gone wrong for me, may I suggest whether you add what you need to buy to a phone, a piece of paper, do remember that the phone or piece of paper must be available to the person who shops for food. It's no good the list being on your phone if someone else then does the shopping. I personally find it helpful to list the food in groups or sections on my shopping list, roughly based on the aisles where I'll find the foods in the supermarket. It's probably less important if you're shopping online, but if you're having to visit the shop or supermarket, then you won't want to be wasting energy going back to aisles you have already visited because you've forgotten an essential ingredient. In addition, and if and when you can, and not necessarily on a weekly basis, have a list of foods that have a long shelf life or that you can keep in the freezer that will be helpful for those times when you're low on energy and can't cook. For example, I'm thinking baked beans. These are brilliant, and you can, have baked beans on toast with a bit of salad, baked beans in a jacket potato with perhaps some more salad, and works brilliantly. And obviously you can buy these extra foods when they're on offer. So I think that's it. So there we are, lots of information. But I really hope it will begin to make planned meals at regular intervals a reality for you. If you feel you need more personalised support to help you in your unique situation, please do book a free discovery call and let's see if it's something I can help with, and if an individual appointment is the best way forward for you. The next video in this series will look at all the stages that are needed to get the food on your shopping list to your plate, ready for you to eat. I've called it From Plan to Plate, and I think it's so important because pain and fatigue can really hinder many of the stages, which of course then hampers your ability to eat well. But I don't think this is often acknowledged or talked about. Finally, thank you for joining me today, and may I wish you well on the next stage of your journey.
I picked flowers and placed them in a vase and let them pass on as quickly as they came.